My sister didn't just frame me. She destroyed everything I had built over the years. Now she sits crying as her perfect life falls apart. Think this is the end? Oh no, it's just the beginning. I've got a few more surprises up my sleeve. My name is Thomas. I'm 26 years old, and honestly, my life over the past few years has been like an endless circus, just without the clowns. Well, except maybe one. My younger sister, Ashley. She's 23 and has always been the family's golden girl. My parents practically worshipped her. I mean, if she threw a party in the living room and accidentally burned the house down, they'd probably praise her for being creative. Meanwhile, I was breaking my back trying to get an education and build a career, while Ashley's calling was shopping and partying. Think that's not so bad? Oh, if only that were the end of it. The thing is, her desire to be the center of attention grew into something far more toxic. Jealousy. Jealousy that despite all her partying, I, unlike her, was actually achieving something real. I had a good job, a bright future, and even prospects for a promotion. But naturally, Ashley couldn't handle that. And you know what? Her envy led to me losing everything I had worked so hard for. One day, while working on an important project, my boss called me. "Thomas, come into my office," he said. Okay, I thought. Maybe it's finally time for that promotion. But as they say, life's not a Hollywood movie. My boss greeted me with a face like he had just seen someone eat his lunch out of the fridge. "Some important equipment has gone missing from the office, and the cameras point to you." Wait, what? Me? I hadn't even touched that equipment. My mind was racing. "Stay calm, Thomas. This has to be a misunderstanding." I tried to explain that it wasn't me, but apparently the cameras didn't care. The decision was made. I was fired. At that moment, I felt my career crumble before my eyes. You know those scenes in movies where the bridge suddenly collapses and the hero falls into an abyss? Well, in real life, it's not as epic. After my firing, I was fuming with rage. Once the dust settled, I thought, it's time to get to the bottom of this. Because seriously, I had to figure out how my own sister could do this to me. I confronted Ashley, expecting at least a bit of remorse. "Why did you do it?" I asked politely, hoping for some regret. But what did I get? She just shrugged, like it was no big deal, and said, barely holding back laughter, "You only have yourself to blame for trying so hard to be perfect." Man, that was a real punch in the gut. Like being mocked for dressing up for an important meeting only to find out everyone else showed up in pajamas. I was stunned. Seriously. What the hell? You don't think your sister is capable of something like that, but there she was, casually laughing it off as if she'd just spilled juice on you at lunch. Her words cut deeper than I could have imagined. It wasn't just cruel. It was betrayal with a smile. And you know what she did next? She walked away, leaving me standing there like an idiot, angry at the world. What about my parents? Oh yeah, they weren't on my side either. They literally rolled their eyes when I told them their precious, golden girl had stolen the equipment and framed me. "Oh, Thomas, you must have misunderstood," Mom started as usual. They didn't believe a word I said, as if I was making it all up just to spice up their lives. Like seriously? I lost my job. But no, to them, it was just a little misunderstanding. And punishing Ashley? Forget it. She was their little princess who could do no wrong. Every time I tried to explain, they looked at me like I was overreacting. "You're exaggerating, Thomas," they kept saying. Of course, losing your job is such a minor thing, right? I was literally thrown overboard while everyone stood by and watched me drown. The anger boiled inside me, but I knew I couldn't just let this go. This wasn't the kind of situation where you just move on. No, a plan was needed, and I had one. I decided I wouldn't jump to conclusions. First, I needed proof, and I didn't waste any time. I reviewed the office security footage and talked to a few colleagues who, luckily, supported me. Sure enough, I started noticing details I could use against her. The security tapes didn't show everything, but enough to give me a trump card. She thought she'd get away with it. But no, sis, this was just the beginning. I knew simply accusing Ashley of theft would be like dropping a rock and wondering why it didn't fly back into the air. She was too good at manipulating people, and her innocent face always won them over. Who could believe that behind those blonde curls was a master manipulator? So, if I wanted to prove her guilt, I had to outsmart her. And you know what? I'm not one to give up easily. My plan was simple. Catch her red-handed, but do it in such a way that she couldn't escape. I started keeping an eye on her, like a real detective, just without the trench coat and hat. Eavesdropping on her phone calls, recording her confessions with hidden cameras, following her every move. That's how I spent the next few months. It wasn't easy, but every time she thought she was safe, I was there, collecting little pieces of the puzzle. By the end of my investigation, I had a whole arsenal. Recordings of her conversations, videos where she admitted to her schemes, and even a few photos of the stolen equipment. Not that I was proud of what I did, but it had to be done. I was ready for the final showdown. The day came when the whole family gathered for dinner. As usual, my parents were discussing something trivial, and Ashley sat there, smiling like she was the star of the show. But I knew her time had come. "So," I started, as if nothing was wrong, "there's something we need to talk about." All eyes turned to me, but Ashley didn't seem worried at all. She couldn't care less. Well, not yet. I began laying out all the facts I had gathered over the past months. At first, I casually mentioned the strange coincidences surrounding the stolen equipment. Ashley sat there as if it was a joke, like she was watching a comedy show. But then I pulled out my secret weapon, the video footage. Oh, how her face changed when I played the video where she confessed to manipulating the situation, framing me, and lying to everyone. For the first time, I saw fear in her eyes. She tried to stay calm, but her smug smile vanished instantly. Her face went pale, and she could no longer answer my questions with the same confidence. My parents were, of course, in shock. Their little golden girl wasn't the perfect angel they thought she was. At first, they tried to defend her, like it was just a small mistake that could be brushed aside. "Maybe it's a misunderstanding?" Mom muttered, not knowing where to hide her shame. But I destroyed every argument with more evidence. The recordings, the photos, everything pointed to her guilt. Even their most naive attempts to justify her turned into pointless efforts to save their pride. Ashley couldn't deny it anymore. She sat there in silence, and for the first time in our lives, I was one step ahead of her. This was the moment I had been waiting for, Ashley's point of no return. We were all sitting together, my parents in shock, and Ashley clearly losing her grip on the situation. I didn't waste any time getting to the final blow. "You know," I said, "I could send all of this to the police right now. What would happen then? You'd be in jail for theft and fraud. Or maybe you'd like to confess and make everyone's life a little easier?" Her face in that moment was priceless. You know that feeling when you suddenly realize you're caught but still try to act like it's all fine? That's exactly how she looked. Of course, her first reaction was to threaten me. "You wouldn't dare, Thomas. Our parents would never forgive you for sending your sister to jail." "Oh, dear sister, you're overestimating your power. And that's when things got fun." I leaned in closer and smiled. "You see, Ashley, your threats only work as long as you have some control over me. But now, you're just scared. Scared of prison." And that was the pure truth. Her eyes widened, like I had just revealed her ultimate defeat. She tried to keep it together, but the fear of going to jail won. She started crying. Yes, imagine that. Ashley, always so confident and untouchable, now sitting in front of me in tears, realizing the end was near. "Yes, I did it," she sobbed. "I wanted to ruin your career, so our parents would finally see that I could achieve something. I was tired of being in your shadow." Oh, how touching, right? It was all jealousy. So much that she was willing to destroy my life. But now, everything had changed. Once the truth came out, her golden reputation, which she had worked so hard to maintain, collapsed like a house of cards. My parents were devastated and disappointed, realizing their precious daughter wasn't the flawless angel they had always believed her to be. And this wasn't just a small incident. It was serious. They lost their trust in her. They no longer looked at her with admiration like they used to. Ashley was now just a shadow of herself. Her friends? Well, once the truth came to light, many of them turned their backs on her. Of course, no one wants to be friends with someone who would betray their own family for some cheap sense of superiority. She became a true outcast in her own family. And you know what the funniest part is? Now she's stuck in my shadow. The same shadow she tried so hard to escape. As for me, I finally restored my reputation. I found a new job where I'm appreciated for my honesty and professionalism. And the best part? I'm free from her envious shadow. Ashley no longer has any power over my life, and that sense of freedom, it's incredible. This whole situation taught me one important lesson. No matter how close someone is to you, if they cross the line, sooner or later, karma will catch up with them. And as harsh as it sounds, Ashley got exactly what she deserved.